Hey everyone, so today we're going to be talking about flame breathing from Demon Slayer. Now, a fair warning, there are some spoilers about things that turn up in the movie and also in the manga, so watch at your own risk please. So I hope you like the demonstration of the forms, and we'll talk a little bit more about them, but I'd just like to say that Demon Slayer is my favourite anime, my favourite manga of all time, and I absolutely loved it. And if you haven't seen the movie yet, then I highly encourage that you do. I'm not going to put any clips from the movie in this YouTube video because I think that you should see them in their full cinematic glory because it's so well done. And I watched it the other week, a bit late on the uptake because I'm in Australia and it came out not that long ago, but I loved every moment of it. So if you haven't seen it, please go and see it. So let's talk a little bit about the history of the flame breathing style of swordsmanship. So flame breathing is one of the original breathing styles descended from Breath of Sun, where Yorichi taught the original flame swordsman breathing techniques so that he could be strong enough to kill demons. And the way that I look at it is that the Breath of Flames is the simple basics of swordsmanship done right, done and honed to perfection in terms of power and speed. So in the manga then we see 5 Breath of Flames forms performed, and in the movie we see one more added that actually wasn't in the manga. And the thing is that I'm going to talk about them in groups. So we'll talk about the first 3 as a bunch. So in most swordsmanship styles then you'll see 3 very distinct cuts. Downwards cuts, horizontal cuts and rising cuts. And that's exactly what the first 3 forms are. So the first form, Shiranui, or also translated as Unknowing Fire, is a very fast-moving horizontal cut. And the reason why the horizontal cut is taught first, as opposed to the downwards cut, which you would see taught in most other swordsmanship styles, is because in demon slaying, then demons don't die unless you cut off their head. So teaching a form which most effectively cuts off the head makes a lot of sense, which would be the horizontal cut. And you see this in Breath of Water with their Minamogiri, also a horizontal cut, and in Thunder Breathing, Hekireki Isen, the first form, which is also a horizontal cut, because not teaching the horizontal cut as the first form makes very little sense, except in Breath of Sun, which is one of the exceptions to that, where it's taught as a downwards cut because Yorichi is originally a samurai who learnt swordsmanship before he went on to demon slaying at the age of 7, and also the form of Breath of Sun is specifically designed to be used against Muzan, who is immune to having his head cut off. Now let's talk about the second form. So the second form, Nobori En Ten, or Rising Scorching Sun, is a very powerful rising cut, which is used both defensively and offensively. We see it used against Akaza's attack against Tanjiro, where Rengoku protects him by using the second form to slice Akaza's fist in 2. So in normal Japanese swordsmanship it'd be called Gyaku Kesagiri, and so it makes sense that flame swordsmanship has its own name for it, which is Rising Scorching Sun. Now the third form, Kien Banjou, or Blazing Universe, doesn't actually ever show up in the manga, it's added in the movie, and I think that was a really cool addition, and also one that was well needed because of the other 2 forms. So Blazing Universe is a strong downwards cut, which we would either call Kirioroshi, or it could be used as a Kesagiri cut, which is a downwards cut that's slightly angled. And I think that having the other two forms without having this just made the form seem like it was lacking a very basic, important form. And it's one of the most powerful forms that the body can create in terms of swordsmanship and how you move the sword, because it works well with gravity. And so it makes sense that it's the third form in terms of the basics, because it's working up its way in power. So the first, second and third forms make up the basics of pretty much most of Japanese swordsmanship. And so it's nice to see them shown in the manga and also in an anime, as opposed to these flashier forms. Now we get to the fourth form, which is a little bit different. So the fourth form, Seien no Uneri, or Blooming Flame Undulation, is described as a defensive technique. And honestly speaking, as a defensive technique against other swordsmen, it would be absolutely terrible, because it uses so much energy and has so much wasted motion. But it works really well against demons or unarmed opponents, because the point of it is that the sword moves in a circular arc so that it cuts through the opponent as they attack, and that's how it defends. And so it's a really good way to defend against a demon by also cutting off their arms or potentially their head as they attack you. Now it's really interesting, because if you try to do this with the normal grip of Japanese swordsmanship, then the right wrist, when it comes around for that, is cocked at a very steep angle like this. And so then if you actually struck something using the Japanese grip, you would probably break your wrist. And so to do this safely, you have to transition to a Hema thumb grip, which is used in Hema and Western longsword techniques. So it's a really cool way to see both Western and Eastern swordsmanship come together for this fantasy form, which looks pretty cool. And also, when it's seen animated and also seen done in the manga, then it looks absolutely amazing. Now we get to the fifth form, Enko, or Flame Tiger. And if you read the Wikipedia page for Kimetsu no Yaiba flame breathing, then it says it's a sequence of fast moving attacks that form a flame tiger. So it literally tells you nothing about the form. And in the movie, then you also don't really see much. You see this flame tiger come out and it's a great effect, but you also really don't know what the form is about. But if we take this still shot from the manga, then you can see that Enko is actually made up of 3 specific cuts. You see the circular motion of the fourth form, you see the horizontal motion of the first form, and then finally you see the downwards cut of the third form. So I think this is really nice as a way to tie in the different forms in fast succession to create a powerful attack that starts with a defense and ends with a very strong attack to try and cause as much damage to the demon as possible. Now we get onto the ninth form, which I haven't demonstrated, and there's good reason for that. So you see it in the movie as a very strong downwards cut, where there's a really cool grip change and it goes into an upwards cut through Akasa's body. But honestly speaking, I don't think that was actually the intended form. I think that the grip change and the rising cut is a result of Kyoujuro Rengoku's insane reaction speed and situational awareness, realizing that Akaza had moved his blade aside to prevent himself from being killed. And the thing is that it's an esoteric art, and that means that it's only learned by a few chosen people. And so I think it's one of those secret techniques of Japanese swordsmanship where it's only taught to very, very high ranking students or people with familial connections to the school. And I think that's exactly what it's going for, because if you look at the manga, then Rengoku, the form is, you see basically none of it. You just see this insane burst of speed that Rengoku does, and that's it. And so I think it was really cool that they animated it and they made it a really cool form, but it's not really true to the manga. And I think that it's best left as a sword form that is incredibly powerful, but the details of it are secret, and that's where I'm going to leave it. So I hope you liked this video where we covered and talked about the Breath of Flames forms in real life and how they would be done. I think that they're really fun forms to perform, and also that they're very doable in all honesty, because there's no weird flips, there's no crazy motions that the body really can't do. They're all just basic forms taken to the peak of power and speed. And so I think it's actually good training for people who practice swordsmanship in real life as well, to try and incorporate these forms and see what they can do just for fun and also for some good training. So I hope you like this, and with that, I'll see you next time.